Hey, it's Dr. PJ, and I'm here with Dr. Margaret Boyd-Owens, and I wanted to take this moment to actually have Dr. Owens to come on. She's one of my colleagues in the field of higher education, and I wanted her to actually be able to come and introduce what her research was, because I think it's very important that we actually speak about populations that are many times forgotten. My former employer and her current employer, we were an institution that actually goes into the state prisons to actually deliver college level courses to prisoners. So I wanted her to come on and talk about her research that she did. Dr. Owens?
Yes, Dr. Johnson, first of all, thank you so very much. I think this is such a meaningful impact for us to have the opportunity to expound and most importantly to share to the audience here. As my colleague and dear friend and brother, Dr. Johnson stated, I am humbled to be your Dr. Margaret Boyd-Owens. I am a proud graduate of the Jackson State University, whereby I earned my PhD in higher ed leadership and additional studies with psychology. So we are hungry for this opportunity to share with you, the listeners, the readers, and the hearers of this research epidemic, to be honest.
Okay.
And the title of my research, whereby I truly enjoyed investigating and plowing and doing this qualitative study, was and still is the perception of the challenges to retention among African American males in community colleges. And I place some specifics on the Southeast region, specifically and particularly in Arkansas. In my research, as I shared with you earlier, it was a qualitative study, Dr. Johnson, that focused on the dynamics and all of the barriers that our African American males, most of them, encountered.
Okay.
See, you are an exception to the rule. However, in our studies in community college, as Dr. Johnson highlighted in his intro, that he and I both work in community college settings, and we've both been in the background of higher ed for quite some time. So what prompted me to do this study was I was discovering, to be honest, that we have a challenge with African American males retaining in our community colleges. Not only just there, but just in the seat, to find out why were they not even sustaining throughout the semester. And in my research, it was discovered that which I based on Bean and Mester's model of the non-traditional student attrition model. He highlighted there were 5 key elements, such as socioeconomics, mental illness, and also it highlighted with the institution, and then the 2 other key components were family background. And in my research, it focused on how the African American males in my study found out that all of those barriers were identifiable and relatable to them, and why they did not sustain a success in our community colleges. And you would think that our community colleges are mostly closely knitted as well as well-rounded and family-oriented. Yes, they were, and yes, they are. However, the challenge is that we find that the students, that we were not really meeting their needs. We find that upon admission in some of our institutions, as well as in the research, that there were some loopholes in our institutions that did not allow in-depth study or in-depth, if you will, questionnaire to find out why Johnny later, before the end of the semester, didn't stay. But the research later indicated, according again to Bean and Messer, as he highlighted about the mental issues, we find, unfortunately, that it's a hidden secret that our African American males do not want to share, that I'm having an issue, that I have a mental issue from prison, as well as other things that may have occurred throughout their lifespan. So we find that what's most striking to me, to honestly, just to share this to the audience, Dr. Johnson, that our institution and family background were the 2 tiers that unfortunately allowed students, our Black male population students, who were my purposeful study, to be honest, to engage in the reason why they just could not endure. Number 1, the institution did not meet their needs. They did not have certain programs such as BMI or B2B, as Cool J 2006 highlighted. And even Ingram stated that in community colleges, just as it is in 4-year institutions, it is highly necessary that we have programs and outreach to reach African American males, so they can feel as though they're needed, so they can see that they're needed. And those programs, unfortunately, were not as effective in these community colleges. So therefore, the institution did not meet their needs. In addition to that, the research also highlighted that when the institution did not provide a circumference of support service such as tutoring, again mentoring, and in addition, even with just the which we call the ACT, which is accommodation, communication, and teaching them upon when they get in on the pre-entry stuff for college, they were not aware. It was just a new ball game. And unfortunately, because they did not have the gym shoes and the material to prep for this new game, they did not make it. And then family background. Listen, audience, if you have a nephew, a brother, a cousin of African American descent, it is essential that you spend quality time with them. It is essential that you say, I'm proud of you. Give them proximity to say, we need you. Stay in school, go to school. What's your challenge? Because according to the research, the participants also highlighted in my study, as well as throughout from 2012 to 2017, stated that there was no father figure. No one supported them, encouraged them. Unfortunately, it stated that they had men in the street, or the street was their family. Unfortunately, with my research, and I had 15 participants in my study, and of those 15 participants, 11 of them stated in my research they did not have a father figure. Regrettably, their father was either three components. Number one, the father was in prison. Number two, the father was deceased. Or three, the father was nowhere around, so they didn't know who their father was. And then lastly, their component, their father was the big brother, the gang leader in the street. So that's what research is indicating to us. So if you know students and your nephews and cousins who are brothers who are in school, sometimes it's okay just to pick up the phone and say, are you okay? I'm coming by. Let's go, let's do lunch. Let's talk about a class that's a struggle with you. Because the dialogue was the missing diamond. I'll repeat that, Dr. Johnson. The dialogue is the missing diamond. And that's why we find that with the barriers of the retention, just to keep me in the seat, just to keep me engaged. No one did have a dialogue. Talk to me. And my philosophy is, if I don't hear you, I don't see you. So if I don't hear you saying, good job, Harrison, I'm proud of you. Good job, Marcus, I'm proud of you. Then I don't see that you're valuable to me. I don't see that you think that I'm valuable to me. And these were the indicators from our African American males in the research. And in addition, it focused on these various things that we keep a secret, such as about the mental illness. And it's okay, gentlemen, to say, I don't know, because we find, according to the research, in 9th grade, Ms. Johnson, to be honest, that there was a deficit. And according to the research, it indicated by 9th through 11th grade, when we see these African American males are declining, that's when we need to have the dialogue. And unfortunately, they set out, and then with non-traditional students, by the time they go to college, they are taking remedial courses, which already has them at least 2 semesters behind. So they are, remember, they're non-traditional. Secondly, they're African Americans. Number 3, they're already behind. So those are already 3 components.
That's
3 strikes. And then also, if we don't have the measurement to meet as well as assess these needs, unfortunately, we lose them. So the research has been so rewarding. I am humbled that I've had now the opportunity to, since my dissertation, thankfully the Lord has blessed that I had the opportunity now to present this in various sectors. And so we want to reach the mass with this, and even with this pod. I remember looking at your shirt, was a couple of weeks ago, with Got College. We used Got Milk, but with this positive statement of Got College, it is essential. And that's why we got to have the dialogue, even with our individuals, not only just with our African American males, but that's my study, but even with minorities as general. Because the research also indicated, quiet is kept. Regrettably and unfortunately, of all the ethnic groups, the African American males were the least among all ethnic groups, as well as the genders of male and female, to not surpass or complete a college and attain a college education, and that's in community colleges. Look at the irony if it were a four-year institution. And so therefore, this is a smorgasbord of concerns. It is a buffet of an opportunity that you and I, and as well as your audience, can reach out to say, what can I do? So to answer that question, we start in elementary. Again, the research for the elementary is stated from the 5th and 6th grade. I think there was a study also that highlighted about the pen and pencil attribute, whereby we can see if African American or black boys will be going to prison or will they matriculate to college. Some of that study. So then, and we find another component to this is the standardized test. How the standardized test, though it has its bias components, but it was also steered with not only the standardized testing, but our black young men who were already at risk for disciplinary. They were already targeted as agents of not succeeding. So those same individuals, that population alone of being African American, being at risk, and then thirdly with poor grades, poor grading, special education, they unfortunately were not even deemed to succeed. We were already stereotyping and labeling according to these dynamics and demographics among our African American males. So my new petition in life is to make sure that I am reaching the mass by sharing, Dr. Johnson, the real truth. In fact, to be honest, because I'm also doing additional consulting and having some other work, I had 3 young men just this morning to send me a text and an email to say, Dr. Owens, I'm not going to make it today because I had to see my parole officer. And unfortunately, since we just had the Super Bowl and things happen when we're drinking, we may engage in natural herbs. So that's a pop test. So that's another dynamics that may keep that individual from staying in school. And unfortunately, again, back to the data that it reports, with these barriers, if they don't succeed in college, guess where they go? Back to the penitentiary. Back to the cycle of chaos. And most importantly, back to the era where they were hoping to move away from. So the data is here, it is data driven, and in looking at the qualitative study and hearing the lived experiences of my participants in my study, it humbled me, it valued me to make sure that I walk worthy of my vocation, as the word states. It also allowed me to look at every man differently, because every man does have a different circumstances. And no, as quiet as it kept, not all of us are the same. Because each of these individuals, and I'm sure you know when you and I were working together at the other institution, we often dialogue about these crises that our African American males literally struggle with. Do I want to stay in school, or do I need to go make this quick hustle? And it was a battle. And unfortunately, due to the fact because there were not other available resources, because they need to pay rent, they had to pay parole officer, and all these are real life applications, ladies and gentlemen, that this is no longer a soap opera or something that's on Shop Talk or just a video. These are real life applications that's affecting our generation. But most importantly, not only does it affect our generation with our students and our population, but guess what? Those men have children. And due to the fact that they have been absent from their children, because their fathers were absent from them, you see the cycle of chaos? So that's an anger buildup, and then when they come to us in school, when they feel as though that we don't understand, you don't really know my story, they say. But again, it goes back to having positive mentors such as yourself and your other team members who are doing such projects such as this, reaching the mass. And again, my philosophy, if I don't hear you, I don't see you. So to you, audience, I do hope that you hear us. I do hope and pray that you see us, that this is a mission and a calling to save our community, but most importantly to save our households. Because if we say in my the next philosophy that I live by, that if I can save one, I can save the household. Then the household will help save the community, and the community will save the environment. And if we look at it in that perspective, you know, with this telescope of this long vision, then my calling of teaching and witnessing and researching and becoming a scholar practitioner, it will not be in vain. So if I can be of any services to you all, to you audience in the near future, I am more than willing to offer my services in providing my presentation to you, as well as facilitating these concepts of the challenges to retention among African American males in our community colleges.
Well, thank you, Dr. Owens. And what I will do, I will have, excuse me, I will actually place Dr. Owens' email address for you all to contact her down in the description box. Thank you again for taking this moment to go over your research. And hopefully someone will gain more than what they came with, okay?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.